The time now is 6 p.m. Stay tuned for the debut show of the Katie Halper Show. Once again, this is WBAI New York, 99.5 FM, and WBAI.org on the web.
Good evening. I'm Katie Halper. This is the Katie Halper Show. Debut episode. It is Wednesday, June 17th, 6 p.m. I'm here with Reggie Johnson. So, first though, let's talk about some very exciting news. This may be the best news for political comedians since the presidency of George Bush. Something very exciting is happening.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, Tuesday, Donald Trump announced he was running for president, becoming, I think, the 779th Republican.
It feels like that. It definitely feels like that.
Something like that. Now, the Daily News compiled some of the best moments from his speech, which he delivered when he announced his running, from Trump Towers, of course. It was edited by Michael Sheridan, and there's music by the Green Orbs. But what you need to know is that even though they play music in the background, they've added music to the video, this is totally true. This is not comedic license. This is exactly what Donald Trump said.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. Hey, I have lobbyists. I have to tell you. I have lobbyists that can produce anything for me. They're great. Hey, I'm not saying they're stupid. I like China. I sell apartment for I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. Am I supposed to dislike them? I don't need anybody's money. It's nice. I don't need anybody's money. I'm using my own money. I'm not using the lobbyists. I'm not using donors. I don't care. I'm really rich. I'll show you that. Saudi Arabia, without us, is gone. They're gone. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people. I would build a great wall, and nobody builds walls better than me, believe me. And I'll build them very inexpensively. I will build a great, great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. Obama is going to be out playing golf. He might even be on one of my courses. I would invite him. I actually would say. I have the best courses in the world, so I'd say, you know what, if he wants to, I have one right next to the White House. Right on the Potomac. If he'd like to play, that's fine.
Now, that was Donald Trump making that's just a humble speech.
Well, I think that the real selling point for me is that he has a golf course right next to the White House.
Right.
So, like, that's it for me. I mean, I need a president that knows how to play golf.
Have been Donald Trump.
That was Donald Trump. None of that. I want to be very clear that there was music in the background. That was all real. Of course it could be him, though. It makes so much sense. This is a guy who, by the way, said that he would probably date his daughter if she weren't his daughter.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
He actually said that?
Yeah. So, yeah, he did. I'll go find the actual. It was during an interview on The View.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
That's like a good brag about your own genes. You're like, look,
true.
the fruit of my loins is so magnificent that.
That's just too creepy. That's creepy.
Now,
that is just straight up.
Gabe, when he said the thing about Mexicans, your father is from Mexico, Gabe, is that true?
Yeah. I mean,
is it true? So you claim?
A long, hardy line of migrant workers who came here and were not rapists. And
so did you feel like he was talking to you when he said, not you, you're not a rapist?
Yeah, he did. Definitely. I don't know what was this thing that he thought that I'm just imagining Mexico as a person who's sending people over as though to sabotage the United States.
Right.
Like That to me is a ludicrous
As if
image.
there's an exchange program of some sort.
Right. Like, we're going to send some rapists here. We're going to send you a couple killers, couple
some drug
rapists,
dealers
some
over
drug
here.
dealers.
Like,
But I like the way he goes. I assume there's some good Mexicans out there. You know, it's pretty open-minded of him. Pretty liberal, pretty tolerant guy.
Very,
well, I
very
like
nice
the idea of a giant wall. He's going to build a giant wall.
he's
Maybe
great
something
at
that
building them.
he's great. There's going to be a great wall, and it's going to be very inexpensive.
I'm very
including
good.
the
I'm
mental
rich.
ones.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. I like the way he told us that, in case we didn't know that.
That's a great selling point.
It's a
I need to
great
hear
selling
that.
point.
I also like how he knows that he's friends with all the Chinese because he sold one building.
God, some of my best friends are Chinese people who bought buildings from me. I can't dislike them.
Yeah, another oligarch who bought a $15 million building. So
Right.
fantastic.
But what's amazing is that this is the song that he came out to. We're just going to play a little bit. This is really the song that he came out to announce his presidency with.
He's like Charlie Sheen running
Oh my
for
God,
president.
he is like Charlie Sheen. You're right, he is. I almost want to vote for him. I'm not lying. I
Seriously?
find him kind
Well,
of
if you
appealing.
voted for him in the primaries, I feel like
Yeah.
it would be kind of like a Maoist
Right.
way
It would
of
be
sort
very
of
Maoist. He loves
like very
How
extreme.
can I hate the Maoists?
Like you're
Right.
you're really dividing everyone into like either you're going to vote for this lunatic or
Right.
whoever the
Right.
Democrats.
Right.
put
I mean,
up.
there's no way that he would beat anyone. Yeah. So it would be good.
So this is the song?
That's what he played, right? Now, do you guys know what that song is?
That's the Neil Young
Yes,
song.
it's a Neil Young song. It's "Rocking the Free World" by Neil Young. What's interesting about that song choice is that, as David Corn writes in Mother Jones, Neil Young isn't really down with the fact that Trump used that because in a statement issued to Mother Jones for Neil Young by his longtime manager, Elliot Roberts, he says that Young was not pleased by Trump's use of the song and it was not authorized. And in fact, Mr. Young is a longtime supporter of Bernie Sanders. Okay? So, two things to take note of. One, Neil Young did not want Donald Trump to use his song, and he just endorsed Bernie Sanders, which is exciting. And then David Corn goes on to say that it was an odd choice given that the 1989 song seemed to slam a Republican administration for not giving a damn about the poor, because the Neil Young song is making fun of George Bush the first Bush, when he says, "We got 1,000 points of light for the homeless man. We got a kinder, gentler machine gun hand. We got department stores and toilet paper, styrofoam boxes for the ozone layer." So, okay, end quote. Now, yeah.
Well, I mean, this just if we take a time machine back to George Bush's initial campaign, the first one, he played "Born in the USA"
Right.
as his
Yes.
song too.
Did Reagan? I think it was Reagan or both, whatever.
No, I think it was Bush.
Okay, so
I think
yeah.
it was Bush one.
One, right? Definitely
Bush
Bush one. Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly it. Because Republicans are not very good at textual analysis, exegesis. You can laugh out loud, Gabe. Gabe just
I don't want to laugh directly into the microphone, but this is hilarious.
Look away.
Yeah.
Look away when you laugh. Cover your mouth, please.
Republicans don't understand satire or irony.
Right, they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what was so funny. They got mad at that guy, Fortunate Son, when he sang Fortunate Son at some.
Sure, Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, Fogarty, right?
That's
John
what we call him.
So.
Right.
Good job, Reggie.
Yeah.
They got mad at Fogarty for singing Fortunate Son, but no one mentioned this. I wrote about this at Ross Star, actually. No one mentioned the fact that Bruce Springsteen had sung Born in the USA before, and no one said anything about that because they don't get irony. You have to be like, the USA is really bad. I hate the USA. And then Republicans are like, oh, we get it. That's critical of U.S. foreign policy.
Well, Bruce Springsteen, he made the mistake of having a very positive chorus in that song.
Right.
So it's really easy for patriots to chant along.
It's a chant.
Yeah, it's very chant friendly.
It's an anthem.
It's an anthem. What with Trump though, what's interesting is that it's unclear. He could be just your run-of-the-mill Republican who doesn't get irony, or he's so reckless and entitled that doesn't face any consequences that I could see him being like, I know that Neil Young doesn't like me. I don't care. Let him sue me. I'm rich.
Does he have to pay Neil Young to use his song?
I don't know,
Or is it sort of like a open source thing where you can appropriate anyone's music for your own
Donald Trump
campaign?
is really on the forefront of the open source movement. So he probably went to one of the websites that he usually uses to get free music and found Neil Young. I don't know.
Totally.
We have to get a copy. We have to get
he
his
torrented
intellectual
the
prop.
Neil Young song
exactly, yeah.
off Pirate Bay.
Exactly. He was scrolling through Pirate Bay. So this is what's interesting though. When I was watching Trump make his announcement, here's what I heard. I heard this song. The same song we heard, but I didn't hear the words. So this is all I heard.
Right.
Okay, and I really thought it was the next song. This is what I thought he was playing.
Okay.
Because it sounds just like it.
This is Trump in the Club? What is this?
This is a song called Call on Me, a dance music song co-written and recorded by Swedish DJ and producer Eric Prydz. A huge hit in 2004, and that song actually samples, with permission, Steve Winwood's song, Valerie. I just sang for the first time on radio, sorry. But
I won't hold that against you.
okay, thank you. But I'm not making this up. I really thought that Donald Trump had chosen that song that we just heard to open his presidential campaign with, which would have made sense because if you've seen that music video, I don't know if you've seen it, Gabe.
No, not yet.
It's very scantily clad women and one dude who could be the Trump if we're reading into it, in doing aerobic dancing, aerobic exercising in a very sexually suggestive way.
In leotards.
In leotards, exactly. No. Oh, that's the other one. That's
Well,
good.
that is the other one.
Okay.
All right,
That's the Steve Winwood one. You know what?
Okay,
I'm glad
right.
for the record, for the
Okay.
historical record.
Okay.
People now know this is the original one that one sampled. But
Right.
next week we'll play the original.
Okay.
The thing that I confused it with. Anyway, in theory, this was a brilliant beginning.
You know
to
what I
agree-
really liked, though,
What?
was this sort of like historical look at the evolution of music that we just had.
I know.
So
It was great.
Thanks. That was just a lesson in
Thank
sampling,
you.
everyone.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Reggie,
Yeah.
for being so... Reggie, by the way, deserves a round of applause because I hit him with approximately the same number of Republican candidates as the same number of sound clips.
Yeah,
like 5
yeah,
minutes ago.
it's neck and neck.
But I started thinking, like, that song, Call on Me, which does sound like the intro of Rockin' the Free World, have been a more appropriate Donald Trump song. And then I started thinking of other songs that would have worked for Donald Trump to come into. That would have worked, right? That would have worked.
I like Heart.
I like Heart. And it's,
I like Heart.
You know, and then
I like Barracuda. That's
Right.
a great song for
Barracuda works.
karaoke.
It is a
Oh,
great
yeah.
song. But
Oh,
I
that's
thought Crazy
yeah,
is a little bit more Trump-esque.
No, that's tailor-made for him.
It
And
is, right?
in fact, it's tailor-made for a lot of the candidates right now.
Right, it's true.
Yeah, but Trump can take that. He has money. He's rich.
He's rich, in case you guys forgot. Then I thought he could play this song, too. This is another option.
What up, cuz? What up, blood? What up, gangsta? What up, blood?
Right? Like, I thought that would work for when he wants to, like, take on Obama, who he likes to take on, antagonize. He'll invite him onto he could play that as he invites him onto the golf course, for
Yes.
instance. And then, you know, he's quite a ladies' man. I don't know if you know that, but he fancies himself a ladies' man. He's been married many times, so I
Yeah.
thought this would be a good song for him to come out to.
How many times have you been married?
Three.
Three, I think.
Three.
Okay.
Three,
For a Republican,
yeah,
it's not that many,
yeah.
actually. You're
Yeah,
right. Good
actually,
call,
that's
Gabe.
relatively low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conservative.
He's celibate,
Yeah.
practically.
Like a monk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Celibate like a monk.
Oh my gosh, my favorite.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Right?
Pony?
Yeah.
Reggie, you're
Wow.
shaking your head.
I'm just creeped out.
Reggie's not down with Pony.
I'm just thinking of the. Oh.
Have you seen the video? It's
Yeah,
very creepy.
that's why I'm creeped out.
Who are they?
like this.
I don't know who they're
amazing.
marketing it to. With the cowboys all sitting at the bar and then...
And then Genuine and the family
Yeah.
riding it. And
Yeah.
then here's the last option I had. This is the last idea I had. Just because I don't even know why. I can't explain why. But there's something.
I can actually see this. I can totally actually see this.
I can see
Yeah.
Donald Trump having backup dancers when he enters from stage left. And they're all
Right.
like waving, shaking their fingers.
That's right.
It'd be amazing.
With a lot of smoke, a lot of lasers, a lot
Right.
of, a lot of this stuff.
He's kind of like the Evel Knievel of presidential candidates.
He is.
I could see that. I want him to come on stage wearing a cape, like a red cape.
You know what? He might as well. I mean, it's just like, the mentality is very WWE.
I know where you're going with that.
Type of
Yeah.
mentality anyway. You know what? Rest in peace, Randy Savage. I was just thinking of him.
Oh.
R.I.P. I
it
was
would've been,
thinking more like the genius. Like he plays like a real heel, you know?
Well, the scary thing about this Trump thing is that
Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
he's a perfect Ted.
Yeah.
He's not doing so bad. According to the pollster trend on Huffington Post, he's just below Marco Rubio, Scott Walker, Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, Mike Huckabee, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Chris Christie, Carly Fiorina, Rick Perry, Rick Santorum, Donald Trump. So he's not doing that badly, right? He's above John Kasich, Lindsey Graham, and Bobby Jindal. So there's that. But I have a theory that Trump just might win because he could get the black vote. I don't know if you know this. Do you guys, he actually has a very good relationship with black people. Do you know that he said this himself? He said in 2001 on talk radio, he said, I have a great relationship with the blacks. I've always had a great relationship with the blacks.
Using the in front.
Right. That's how you know. That's how you know. That's like inner circle down code, right? He gets to use it because the blacks know.
Yeah, he's practically a 5%er.
Yeah. Borderline. 1%er. He's a 1%er, 5%er.
He's a poor righteous teacher.
PRT.
Reggie, what's up, man?
Speaking of someone with a great relationship with the blacks, we have to, of course, talk about Rachel Dolezal.
I have such a hard time pronouncing her name.
too.
Maybe I have a speech impediment. I just can't
I don't know. I think maybe she wants to distract people from
Dolezal.
But if you don't know who she is, by the way, you're not alone because neither does she, kind of. Dolezal is the former NAACP leader in Spokane, Washington, who identified and still identifies as black. And she was outed by her white parents.
Does she identify as the black or as black?
Among the blacks. She may be one of the blacks.
One
I
of
don't
the
know.
blacks. So,
I don't know.
Got
That's
it.
a good question.
Cool.
We're going to have her on. Rachel, I know you're doing the rounds. Come to WBI.
Holler at us.
Challah, as in the food. I wanted to make that explicit, was outed by her white parents who told the media that their daughter was Caucasian by birth.
Stop snitching. They don't follow the code.
I know. No, luckily we have, so it raises the question, of course, who has a better relationship, right, with the blacks. But actually, on a more serious note, but fun, because these women are luckily, they're not boring and they're smart, which is kind of nice when people are smart and articulate and fun to talk with. But we have, two people that we invited into the studio. So excited to hear from them. Syreeta McFadden is a Guardian U.S. contributing opinion writer and the managing editor of Union Station magazine. And Rebecca Carroll is also a contributor at Guardian U.S. and the social media director at Scenarios. Come in. Here you go. Oh, okay. This is we're taking down the fourth wall. Yeah. Oh, okay. You want to, can you give, this is,
totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's Dolezal.
Dolezal. I can't say Dolezal. Sorry.
Dolezal. Yeah.
No, you gotta get close. A lot closer. No,
you guys, this is really.
No, you got to get close.
Okay, hi.
Hi. All right. We're close.
I think we're in now.
I
think we're in there.
Yeah.
You're in there, right?
Trust fall.
You guys can't see, but actually both Rebecca Carroll and Syreeta McFadden are sitting on my lap, and I'm sitting on Gabe's lap, who's sitting on Reggie's lap. So it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
That's how we roll up here.
That's how we roll.
It's like a clown car.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like a progressive totem pole.
A totem pole. Each of you wrote really great pieces on this, and of course there have been lots of pieces on this story. Syreeta, you talk about how destructive what Rachel Dolezal did. Can you just explain a little bit why it was destructive? Because I think that's something that's getting lost in the conversation.
Destructive on one hand feels like a really strong thing to say, but I think what I'm mostly concerned about is our we don't have a language for what's going on right now, or a language to understand this kind of
Mishegas?
Mishegas, see? You know what? I was thinking, I literally was thinking earlier today how Yiddish would be really helpful.
Right?
I'm like, or that we have such somehow in the English language, we are so limited to try and do this work of trying to unpack the stratification of our identities and how that moves and operates in the United States. And I think one of my concerns is that how people are using or applying this term transracial means to erase a set of narratives and experiences for people who have that very particular experience, particularly folks like Rebecca, who is sitting next to me, and also like, you know, I noted in my piece, who can actually tell her own story of being a transracial adoptee. We're talking about folks who are born in a different ethnic group, who are raised in a culture opposite of that ethnic group.
Right.
So so that's one part of the story. We like, you know, and I don't think nationally Americans have the vocabulary and the patience to work with that vocabulary to try and like, let's try and look at how all these identities are flowing, because what she's doing does not read that way to me. Right. It does not read like I like she was like, you know, that's not her experience. And it, you know, she can certainly feel a deep affinity for Black identity and culture, for Blackness. But to don the identity and subsume and like say, I am this right now. Right. Like there's something incongruent about it.
So I just want to cite,
Go ahead.
I could cite you write, after days of speculation, Rachel Dolezal appeared on the Today Show and declared herself transracial and blamed other people's misunderstanding of the term on why she came to be identified as Black. Quote, and now you're quoting her, "I was actually identified when I was doing human rights work in North Idaho as first transracial," end quote. She said, and this is brilliant, I love the way you phrase this, Syreeta, in a construction that conveniently negated her agency in that decision, and explained that she never corrected subsequent media reports that she was biracial or Black. And then you go on to quote her as saying, "I identify as Black," end quote. She said during the interview, though she admits to having identified as white at other points, including when she sued Howard University for racial discrimination because she was white. She lost. That's a great way to sum her up. Rebecca, and we're going to loop you back in because I want this to be a discussion. And you write a brilliant piece, and the title of your piece is very direct, and I love it. And it is Rachel Dolezal is not Black.
I'm Black. Rachel Dolezal is not.
Right. I just reversed the order. Sorry about that. That was intentional. I was trying to be transgressive and subversive. I'm Black. Rachel Dolezal is not. Right. Okay. Yeah. Can you explain that?
Can I explain that?
Yeah, explain.
That's funny.
Go, Rach,
well, the first thing I want to say is I want to respond to what Syreeta had said, and which is that we don't have a language for this. You know, actually, I mean, when I think about that, it gives so much more credit to this conversation, like to what she's doing. I think there's the first language to me is that it's wrong. She's a pathological liar. There is obviously some mental illness going on, and that's important. There's trauma going on, and that's important. Many people in this country, in this world, live traumatized experiences, and they grow up out of it. It's called adulthood and accountability. She was in a paid position to represent legislature to fight against racism, and she lied and misrepresented her. So above all, the language that I first speak about it is her deceit and her pathology.
Right. So, which is funny because there's so much stigma around pathologizing people, right? We're often accused of pathologizing someone, but there are times when there is something pathological going on, and to not talk about that is really problematic, right? Yeah. I think it sounds to me like there's a kind of I don't know this disease, the syndrome very well, but Munchausen syndrome, you know, when people pretend that they're sick and they're not, because she pretended that she got hate mail that she didn't get. There seems to be some, and you used the word delusional.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's very, very tricky because the thing about being delusional is that you'll never be held accountable, right? And that's like really well played on the part of delusional people because there is a certain level. I think she's really intellectually lazy. I mean, it would be so much more interesting if she were intellectually genius. Right. But in terms of calculating and manipulation, I mean, she's a pro.
Right. And she talks the talk. She does talk the academic. Yeah. I mean, she passes as very academic, right? I think whether or not we think it's lazy or that coherent, I definitely think that she's like knows the language that people who talk about this stuff use enough. So not
so much.
Okay.
I mean, that's not what I found in her interview with Matt Lauer. I just found like she was really actually just sidestepping and redirecting and pivoting in a way that seemed like she might have been well coached.
Right.
But I didn't feel like she said anything that was actually articulate or particularly
Like she was
smart.
using catchphrases. Like, that's what sounds, maybe
Well, she was talking platitudes.
Yeah, platitudes.
About
Like
something
academic and intellectual platitudes, right?
Well, right. I wouldn't even put intellectual on it, but platitudes.
Right.
But so to answer your question then about I am black and she is not, and all, there's so many things to say about this or to address.
Not a hard question.
Transracial, as I guess I'm a transracial adoptee. As that, I've never identified as such. So to me, I was adopted into a white family. It was called interracial adoption, right? So I was black and I was entered into a white family. Trans to me is sort of like a broad experience. There was no broad experience in my life. I was in a small white town in a very white state. So it was interracial. I wasn't transing anything. I was experiencing being black in a white, in a white family in a white town. So I mean, take issue, of course, with her using that term, but also being the biological white child of white parents who adopted black children, and to look at these her brothers and not just co-opt, but steal like their identity. Right. Already they're having this really extraordinarily challenging experience growing up in an all-white family in presumably Montana, white. And so for her to then take what is the black part that has currency, and to really just kind of dismiss. I mean, it's just colonization. It's like, as I said in the piece, it's just, this sort of very, very personalized colonization.
Right. Yeah, that was a really amazing and astute comparison, analogy that I hadn't thought of. And I think I haven't read that anywhere else. And I thought that was really very on. It's interesting because when you said the thing about then you grow up, right? Like, I'm just going to be honest. When I was a little kid, I remember saying I was like 5 years old. I was like, Mom, I want to be black. Black people are just cooler. And at that time, I was also dating Gordon McRae in my mind. That's the guy who played Curly in the movie version of Oklahoma. He was already dead from alcohol-related disease. But that's what happens. You grow up, right? And you realize, and what her thing reminds me of, her kind of refusal to acknowledge what she did, it reminds me of white people who are so bummed that they can't use the N-word.
It's pretty much the same. It's like white privilege on steroids.
Right.
It's like, okay, I want this so bad, because if I don't get it,
it's like Veruca Salt.
What are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. But it's like, what are you talking about?
Right. And who can stop me?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Who can stop me?
Yeah.
What's interesting is, okay, here's a question I have about the white privilege thing. It's clearly grounded in white privilege, right? She gets to opt into this other identity. But is there something that's not the tip? To me, it seems like this is not totally within the framework of white privilege, because when someone then, if she had, for instance, gone to apply for bank loans or gone out to dance or like pick people up or whatever as white, right? But then taught as black and worked at the NAACP as black, right? That's like a very literal use of white privilege, right? Where she's navigating through the world as white and for some things and not white for other things.
But she is.
What do you mean?
She sued Howard as a white person.
Right. Before she went all in. And I'm not saying this to laud her. Before she committed. She really committed to the character. She actually, as an acting exercise, is good. No, but isn't there something there? It feels like there's, and maybe this is the pathological thing, where I guess I'm just used to seeing white privilege operate in a kind of, oh, I'm going to wear this or dance like this or talk like this, but then I'm going to not be bothered by the police when I walk down the street, right?
Yeah.
Like how different is it that, and then there's a whole other discussion about light skin stuff, right? Light skin and color privilege.
You mean the colorism aspect of it? Right.
Right. The colorism. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the colorism aspect of it is, I every time I try to logic or reason, or even or attempt a moment to all right, let me just play devil's advocate in my head.
Right.
I fail.
Right.
It's interesting to me, or I don't even.
Well, is there part of this and the challenge of talking about something that's a construction but also real at the same time. I think that's something that lots of people are struggling with, right? Like how, especially white people, they're like, wait, I don't get it. You said that race is construction, like a social construction. So then
I would say just about the colorism part of it is that what she has done to that conversation is make every light-skinned Black woman question her racial identity, which is already, again, it's already enough of a struggle to try to navigate that and figure it out and feel, that is who you are and who you are authentically. So she has caused that damage as well. But I'm sorry, what your question was?
Oh, just going back to how we talk about something when it's both a construction, but it's also real. It's a defining thing, right? It's not something that, sure, it's a construction. That doesn't mean that it doesn't affect your life when you're walking down the street.
It doesn't mean that there aren't any real implications by virtue of this whole scenario. We intellectually can deconstruct race and say that we know it's a social construction. We know that that it isn't a biological fact of our existence. But we live in a society that operates within very strict racial hierarchies. That is totally tied and assigned to skin color and identity. It's what the country is built on. And we also know and have still witnessed how that legacy of white supremacy reverberates throughout the world. We can just talk about the DR for a second.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the Dominican Republic.
Right, the Dominican Republic. And knowing that the kind of that the expulsion of Dominicans with Haitian ancestry is in fact a reflection of the same kind of colorism that we're talking about here.
Which is, in case listeners don't know, that they put this mass deportation policy on hold. So people of Haitian descent who were born and raised in the Dominican Republic are going to be sent back, quote unquote, though they're not citizens of Haiti either. And what's interesting is that the date is 1929, which was the date of a depression, which does that sound familiar when you blame an ethnic population, minority population for the economic woes?
And it's wicked in a sense that it presumes that if your children born of descendants of Haitians who have lived in a Dominican Republic, people who were at or before 1929 are either very, very old, dead. Their paperwork documentation. What are you really trying to communicate? You are very much communicating a racial just xenophobia.
Right. Yeah. Very right. Very strongly.
I mean, which we can absolutely intellectualize and do and talk about within the academy and in various literary forums and so on and so forth. But also, I mean, around the world globally, that it's reflective of human behavior as well. So, we have what we do as human beings, and then we have on top of that this construct of racism that this country was built on, and then we have the actual life experiences that we, and by we I mean Black America, are continue to shoulder, continue to talk through, continue to try to rise up out of, and so I mean it feels like the onus always falls on us to figure it out. And then when it becomes clear, the claim is that it was figured out by somebody else.
Right. Have you read my book? Rebecca, have you read this book? Have you read my article? I'd like to share it with you. Do you think that anything positive can come out of this discussion? I wanted to talk about unsealing the Eric Gardner case, and I wanted to talk more about the Dominican Republic, but this is so in the zeitgeist. So how can it actually be something productive as opposed to kind of a weird, sensationalized story?
I said to Syreeta in the green room,
very lush green room,
that, I'm sort of done talking about her unless we're still, the news cycle's still on it next week. And then we have to find a way to redirect it, right? Again, the onus falls for us to sort of redirect the conversation and figure out, as we already have, and we've seen such a great expanse of viewpoints on this, really interesting from Black folks across the spectrum. And that's been, I think, positive. And, we'll continue to rise to that occasion. I hope that it stops though.
Right. Enough. Moratorium.
Yeah.
RD moratorium.
Right. I mean, her and, their individual family story and that drama is something that we're being sucked into.
Right.
Complicated by the narrative or the story or her construction of a racial identity or an ethnic identity that isn't hers to construct.
But doesn't it have to be by design? Like, she clearly, has this sort of deep need, yearning to identify as oppressed in some way.
Right.
And get attention for that oppression.
Right.
And then somehow find redemption or absolution. She's
and
doing
when she says about having
a media tour.
We're like, yeah. And like, yes, that is true too.
How could she be the mother to her children, one of whom is her brother?
And
which is kind of an interesting thing.
Well, the thing she said that
mothers too, or not.
Well, that really, like, I'm not a mother.
Right.
I am friends with a lot of mothers.
Some of my best friends are mothers.
Some of my best friends are mothers, ladies and gentlemen.
Rebecca Carroll's a mother.
But like I found that particular line kind of that kind of stung in a sense that I know white mothers of black children. Where's the
blackface, lady?
Like,
why are you in blackface?
Like they're like, do you need to be?
Right.
Do you need to adorn my identity in order to be a good black mother, to be a good mother to your black child?
Like, I think your child is going to be better off mental health wise if his mother doesn't make up lie about her background.
Right. I'll just say this other thing. I think I would, I feel like she's an unreliable narrator to her story, and if I would be more inclined and convinced to believe her if I heard anything in the indicator of the language of an acknowledgement about her birth identity and how she, like, there's something absent in her retelling and recounting of her story that feels plausible, or some indicator that she's done the hard work of accepting the responsibility what whiteness has and how it moves and operates and what it is in American society. I feel like that part is kind of absent in how we arrive at this decision that you decide that you need to become ethnically black.
It's so curious though too about, in what she said in the Today Show about her sons, one of which, as you pointed out, is her brother actually.
She doesn't like boundaries.
But she said, I know my kids, I know they support me. I know they support how I identify, and I'm thinking, where are they going to go?
Right.
If they don't.
That's it, Mom.
And she quoted one of them as saying, Mom, you're racially, you're human. Okay, so she's racially human, but they're black males, boys who walk outside of Spokane.
Right.
And you know what?
Right.
How do you reconcile that?
Right. No, it's a very good point. Well, thank you guys. I feel like we need 17 more shows, so maybe we'll do a podcast extra. We'll talk 24-hour podcast on this. And make sure that you check out their articles in Syreeta's articles in The Guardian. Rebecca's is in Dame, but she also writes for The Guardian, so you can find both of them in The Guardian, and follow them on Twitter. Where?
Rebel 19.
Rita Mac.
All right. And we will have you back. Thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Katie.
You. And now we are taking a mini musical break and bringing in our next speaker, our next guest, Ava Farkas, the executive director of the Metropolitan Council on Housing, to talk about the rent rules, laws expiring, whatever. I smoked too much crack before I did this thing yet again. Guess I picked the wrong day to quit cocaine, as Lloyd Bridges said in Airplane. Thank you, ladies, so much for coming. We will have you back. It'll be even smoother, if you can imagine, than our debut. Gabe, how are you feeling?
I feel great. I feel illuminated. That was fantastic.
Yeah, Gabe and I have a transracial thing going on.
We're super transracial.
We are, right? Because I'm a Jewess. You can't see me, listeners, but I am Jewish. But I'm often mistaken for Latina, whereas Gabe is Latino and is often
I am seen as one of the chosen people.
one of the chosen people.
I look like the child. I look like the son of a slumlord.
The son of a slumlord. What?
That is ridiculous.
Oh my God! The other day I heard a Jamaican guy in a Jamaican restaurant say, "And here I am sleeping like a Mexican." I was like, "Does that mean not a lot?" I thought the stereotype is that they work hard. Gabe, you better correct him. You better be like, wrong stereotype.
Right.
Wrong stereotype.
A person sleeping under a cactus.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Ava Farkas comes in and saves the day, resolves it. Ava Farkas gives integrity to
there's
stereotypes.
those
She's like,
those tchotchkes that they sell of a
Mexican
Mexican person lying under a cactus.
Now, Ava Farkas is
with
not...
a big sombrero
with
covering.
a big sombrero. Ava does these tchotchkes. You may not know this. Now, Ava, come in. You're about to fall. Move that chair. You can move that chair out of the way, guys, unless that's for Elijah. Ava Farkas is a... not only does she know a lot about Mexican... handcrafts about Mexicans, but she is also the executive director of the Metropolitan Council on Housing, which is which is it's one of the oldest and largest tenants' rights organizations.
Oldest.
The oldest. You should feature that more on your website. Now, what's amazing about this discussion that we're about to have between Ava Farkas and myself and Gabriel Pacheco is that Gabe is not just a stand-up comedian, nor is he just a former teacher. He is a former... Can I out you now, Gabe?
I feel like you're going to do it regardless of what I say, so go for it.
No, that's not true. Consent is very important on this show.
Yeah, well...
As of today, I mean, for this episode at least.
I got my real estate license.
He got more... Making the package that much more Jewish.
Yep.
Is the real estate. I can say that, guys, because not only are some of my best friends, but my parents are Jewish. So I thought it'd be a great way to discuss the rent laws with the former real estate agent on the one hand, and then Ava Farkas on the other, who is a housing rights advocate, executive director, ladies and gentlemen. Ava, you were arrested recently. Tell us why.
I was. Well, I was arrested with 55 other housing activists and tenants and members of the city council and the state legislature outside Cuomo's office. We were arrested for sitting in the hallway outside of Cuomo's office up in Albany.
He couldn't move. He couldn't get through the hallway.
Yeah.
You were blocking him.
We were blocking traffic. We were blocking business as usual.
Nice.
We were shutting it down, as our chant goes. And we were arrested by the state troopers. My brother thought, actually, my brother saw the picture on Facebook, and he thought it was people in a costume because the state troopers wear these, like, funny hats. And he was like, why were they wearing straw hats?
Oh, yeah, why were they doing that? Why did they send
But that's just that's their hat.
That's their aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's a rural aesthetic. Rustic.
It sort of looks like Texas. It's like a big, like the hat that Pharrell wears, kind of like that style.
Pharrell, I like
Pharrell.
that.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, I think, right? Pharrell. Interesting. So there's the smoky.
Yeah,
Pharrell
like
the
those
bear.
kinds of, and they wear it like tilted forward with this little strap in the back.
Gabe, have you encountered this in your real estate dealings? Do you ever get arrested by the National Guard?
I've never been arrested by the National Guard, the Texas troopers.
Or Pharrell.
Pharrell has never, ever accosted me while I've
he
been.
respects you.
He
I feel
does.
like
He
you
gives
have
me my
mutual
space.
respect. Yeah, definitely personal space. Pharrell's very good at that. That's why that's why his anthem is Blurred Lines. So Ava, tell us what's happening though. What you were arrested? What's so important that you get arrested over?
Oh yeah, I forgot that part.
Not that the fashion hat of Law and Order is very important.
I was also going to tell another exciting part.
Tell another exciting part.
Well, it was a plan.
Gabe's like executive director.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. I want to hear all about this. I want to hear about.
It was a planned arrest. So it was the first time I was arrested. So I was very excited because I'm very scared of getting arrested by the NYPD. But this was like a baby arrest because it was the state people, right. And they used string handcuffs.
Okay.
That's adorable.
That's adorable. I love them.
They're like arts and crafts handcuffs.
Yeah.
Lanyard.
And the most, I thought like the most real, the most sort of intense part of it, if there was any real intense part, was that we had to be, if we wanted to use the bathroom, we had to be accompanied with a state trooper to go to the bathroom.
Okay, that could be.
But other than that,
So it kind of sounds like summer camp, at like a school where like they need to account for you all the time.
No.
They're like, we're going to walk you to the bathroom and to the water fountain now.
Yeah,
in
Ava, you're
threes.
a political prisoner. But why did you do this, Ms. Farkas? What is the issue that you're trying to get Cuomo to do? Tell people about it.
We did this because Governor Cuomo, for people who've been reading the news or people who live in rent-regulated housing, know Governor Cuomo needs to strengthen the rent laws. Governor Cuomo has the power to bring the leaders of the Assembly and the Senate together and cut a deal on the rent laws that's going to bring the kinds of reforms that we need, that tenants need in order to keep New York City affordable and to keep the system of rent-regulated housing in place, which is the largest source of affordable housing in New York City. It's what keeps New York City a place where, right, it's affordable for regular people, right. For regular working people,
not just
Donald Trump. And we need stronger rent laws. We don't just need a renewal of the rent laws. We need stronger rent laws, and Cuomo can deliver that. And we were out there demanding that he deliver. But
he's not doing that. He's wants status quo.
He has gone back and forth. 2 weekends ago, he came out with an op-ed in the Daily News saying that he supported some of the major items in our platform, including repealing vacancy decontrol. That's our number one demand, which is a terrible loophole in the law that is the mechanism by which landlords take apartments out of the regulation system and make them market rate. And we want to abolish that policy. And he came out not totally in favor, but he came out saying it should be abolished, or the rent level under which you can deregulate an apartment should go up. But so he left himself an exit strategy, right, at a way to wiggle out of that commitment. He did make a couple other commitments that he's since backtracked on and said there's not enough time. He even has a he has a Facebook ad now asking people to pledge to support him getting stronger rent laws, but he is the person responsible. So it makes no sense.
Write me a letter and pressure me to change the rent laws.
It's ridiculous.
It's like the FDR story where he's like, now go ahead and make me. He says that to,
support Governor Cuomo telling the Assembly and the Senate to do it, but he's the one.
He wants to be empowered. He wants to know there's buy-in.
Yeah,
he wants to know he's supported.
I don't know what's going on. So what can people do? He's all over the place. He's crazy. Yeah.
What can people do? He's transracial, transgovernmental. What can people do?
They can call his office. Number, got it right here, 518-474-8390, and tell him we do not just need an extension of the rent laws, we need the strengthening of the rent laws. We need to repeal vacancy decontrol. People can also join one of our many actions. We're going to be protesting him every single day until the rent laws are strengthened.
Ooh, maybe we'll go get some recording.
Tonight, we're going to be having a camp out outside of his Midtown office.
Summer camp.
Along with the Brooklyn Borough President, Eric Adams. He's organizing this, and a number of city council people will be there. We are going to have a press conference at 10:30, and then we're literally going to sleep overnight in the street outside of his office, because if the laws aren't strengthened, people will be evicted from their homes, and we'll just move into his office.
Are you hearing that, Andrew Cuomo? That's fine. Don't strengthen the rent rules, but make sure that you want a lot of people in Gracie Mansion living with you.
So how much time does he have to do this?
Yeah, how much time?
Well, the time has already run out technically, so Monday night at midnight, he's beyond the deadline. Monday night at midnight was the deadline for when the previous set of laws expired on the rent laws. So he's beyond the time, but it doesn't really matter. He
calls the shots.
Yeah, I mean, he's said to the legislature that he's going to keep them in Albany as long as possible until a deal is cut. Right. So he just has to broker that deal, and he has to negotiate with the Republican Senate and get them to accept stronger rent laws.
Right. Okay, cool. So anything else you want to say where people can come out? We have 1 minute. Anything else? You can see me tonight performing at Laughing Liberally, by the way.
I'll say Thursday we will be at the Plaza Hotel at 6 p.m. Governor Cuomo's having a fundraiser there, and we'll be out there along with a lot of other groups, Teachers Union, that are going to be that have a bone to pick with him. And then the picket line will continue Friday, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. So come out for a lunchtime picket at Governor Cuomo's office, 633 3rd Avenue between 40th and 41st Street.
Will it be catered? It's lunchtime.
No, I don't.
Okay, bring your own pack, your own lunch.
Yeah,
brown
lunch,
bag
BYO.
BYOL. Thank you so much, Reggie Johnson. Thank you so much, Gabe Pacheco. Thank you so much, Ava Farkas from Metropolitan Council on Housing. And come out and support her. And we'll see you next week. I'll be wearing a straw hat. And
I'll be wearing a Mountie hat.
Yes, and string handcuffs.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Awesome.